doctor that has been practicing in Corpus Christi for the past 20 years or over 20 years. I did my residency there in at Memorial Medical Center in Corpus and decided to stay in Corpus. I am married, 35 years as of this year, have 3 kids. And I am not a politician, never thought of being a politician. But because of the circumstances of the past 4 years and then what happened January the 6th, it kind of made me kind of step up and say, well, you know, this is not going the right way, and it continues to not go the right way. And so because of that, I decided to enter the race on December the 11th, when the deadline was December the 13th. So in looking at what's going on in Washington and the lies that have basically been expounded by the Republican Party, and the number of people that are following these lies are kind of scary and impressive, as both of them have already mentioned. And so I think that we need to, again, try to bring people to vote, try to get somebody else in there that is going to be, I guess, a little bit more truthful is basically what we need. They tried to essentially overthrow the government, and in my opinion, anybody who partook of that activity should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. This country is a country of laws. Our Constitution dictates what direction, how the laws are to be taken and followed. Nobody, and that includes the former president, should be above the law. It also includes all these legislatures that participated in trying to overturn this election. And so I also feel strongly that any of these who participated in this insurrection should be barred from participating in our government. Why? Because if you are part of a government that you're trying to destroy, you can destroy it from the inside out, which is what they have essentially tried to do. So in stepping up and trying to change the direction of the country, that's why I kind of either have to step up or shut up. And so we're stepping up. Not to go into too much detail, but my background includes, I am an immigrant. I was a farm worker. I graduated from public school. I am a United States Air Force military veteran. I did own my own and develop my own practice. I have worked for the VA. I did in fact work as a compensation and pension physician. I was the first one for the Texas Valley Coastal Bend, but that's a whole nother story. And then I also went back and worked in the medical, as a medical staff physician. I have worked for other companies, other large medical institutions, so I'm a little bit versed in the medical field in regards to the political aspects of it. Okay. So these are all situations in my life that I feel have prepared me for what's going on currently in the current environment in the political aspect or the political world. I am a complete rookie at this. I have no previous experience. I have a clean slate. I have no endorsements. I don't want any. Why? Because I do not want to bend to anybody to do their will or do their bidding. Okay? So if they want to endorse me, they will endorse me as I am. So what you see is what you get. Okay? So with that being said, I'll keep it short. Any questions or anything you all have for me?
Okay, if they don't have questions, I will.
Let me just answer.
I want to know what you think. Okay, go ahead.
Let me just answer his question regarding the compensation and pension.
Uh-huh.
Being involved in compensation and pension, it's a complex, how can I say this nicely? It's a complex mess. Okay. What happens with the compensation and pension process is that they will never be able to catch up. And that's in part due to the veterans themselves. And I'm sure a lot of veterans are not gonna like to hear this, but that is the truth. The reality is that every veteran that is coming out is petitioning for compensation and pension. Okay? So you have veterans in the hundreds of thousands leaving the military and submitting their paperwork. There are not enough doctors for compensation and pension. There are not enough judges for compensation and pension, okay? So you have claims that have been stagnant, okay? And those are still haven't been cleared. And you still have hundreds of thousands of new claims coming in every year. The other problem there is that every year you have some veterans that are submitting their claims repeatedly to try to increase their designation, okay? So it's a never-ending system that they're not going to clear, and I feel that eventually the pot of money is going to run out, okay? So that's a process that obviously if you're the one that's looking for the increase, you don't care about everybody else. I want mine now. But you have veterans who are already in the system, you have veterans coming out of the system, and so it's a never-ending situation for that. I had the experience of a young man, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, myself included, but the gentleman, he was 26 years old. I was one of the few that allowed family members to come in with him. He had his wife. We did the whole physical exam, we did everything. He wasn't complaining of everything. And his wife says, well, either you tell him or I tell him. Oh, okay. All right. And so I said, you need to, this is the place where you gotta say it. And he kind of looked down, started turning red, and she goes, well, he can't do anything that involves his knees when we have sex. And he just, and I said, wait a minute, why, what? Well, yeah, they hurt a lot. I said, well, did you get injured? He said, well, yeah, but, I take Motrin and that's okay. I said, no, it's not okay. This is where you need to say what's going on. Long story short, this young man was he was in a tank. He was in charge of the machine gun at the top of the tank. They hit an IED. He went up, but he was strapped into the chair. And when he went up, the strap pulled him back, and he hit both knees on a metal step that comes out of the tank. And to make a long story short, we got MRIs, and everything inside both knees was torn. Cartilages, ligaments, everything. So you have a different scope. Veterans who don't want to take benefits from the other veterans who really need it. And then you have veterans who want even more. Okay? So it's a difficult balance there to try to satisfy when all of this is coming in and you don't have enough people in the medical service to be able to accomplish that. And you end up with a lot of frustrated people. Okay? Questions, anything else?
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
the reason I am sticking my nose in it is I want to know what the top 3 subjects are to you. I spoke to a dear friend of mine from high school who lives in Connecticut. And I said, hey, Dale, how are you? It's good. But I'm so nervous. What's the matter? Well, I heard that they opened the borders and all the immigrants are coming across. Where'd you hear that? Well, that's what they're talking about on the TV. Well, that doesn't make it true. I mean, I was down there. They opened up after COVID, but that's regular border trade. Oh, and here in New York, the blacks are going around robbing and breaking everything. So where'd you hear that? It's on the news. Oh, man. So here I'm gonna do my little speech on communications, okay? I got into the business, and broadcast, radio and television, was controlled by the FCC. I grew up in a world where we had the fairness doctrine, we had the right of rebuttal, we had libel and slander laws that we had to obligate ourselves to. I mean, we studied that in school. When I went to work for CBS in LA, every year we get a big blue book of standards and practices, and we had to sign it, okay? Because if you screwed up and you signed that, it was your fault, okay? So, but that was a world that was with us for then. Then the day of cable TV came in. Oh, cable TV. They went to the Supreme Court and said, we're not over the air. You really can't regulate us. We're coming on a wire to your house. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you're right. And guess what? There's no regulation on cable. In fact, I'll be very nasty here. In the early days, how did they get popular? Adult movies. Porn. They were doing bad words on TV shows. It was getting a little out of hand, but that we're using that as marketing because we had I Love Lucy on Sunday nights on CBS. They could do Beyond and multiple channels, and they got real popular. Now today, they still are not regulated. They were told the following: you have to stay within community standards. Okay? So if everybody in Puerto Vaca said, I want to see dogs doing it with dogs, they could play that. There's no control. It's called First Amendment. Okay? They could do that. And then this world of the internet came in. And oh my God. It started off as a brilliant idea. Communication worldwide for free. No stamps, no phone calls, no nothing. The world is at your laptop. Every piece of research information is right there. And now there's guys in Russia that are trying to hack into my computer right now. There's guys in China that do that all day. Everything is hackable on the internet. And you think our elections are safe? I don't. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act required that there be a paper trail. And as soon as I get there, that's what I'm going to push for. Because I want a paper trail on all ballots. And I would immediately put the FCC over cable traffic. Because here's the way they do it. You know, it's a deniable liability. I own Facebook. Actually, the guy's 30 years old, he's still got pimples. He owns Facebook. He owns Facebook, right? And he opens this platform where the world can communicate, right? And a Russian hacker gets in, affects the ballots, affects the people that live in certain districts, and you know who wins in the electoral college. And he says, well, that's not my fault, because they are communicating. And so, but it was on your platform that these lies and misinformation were going. Yes, but that's communication. And I won't go into great detail, but I studied the First Amendment in school. Not everything is protected First Amendment. It's supposed to protect you from being able to talk about your government and ask for redress. But you cannot go into a movie house while the movie's playing and yell fire and cause a panic. If your speech incites damage or incites injury or is a clear and present danger, as it was on 1/6 where the president said, let's walk over to the Capitol, I'll be there with you. What a liar. Okay? But that incited damage. So I would force radio and television rules to apply to cable and to the internet so that we can live on one set of standards. Because even my business has gone to the hell. I mean, it's gone to hell. I mean, it's just radio stations that I used to listen to because they were, the standard. Now they're Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, and at night they have the guy who believes in aliens coming in from space. And like, any kook can get a radio show nowadays if you're kooky enough. If you're just interesting and just out there. I'm going, you're telling people that the dinosaurs and the human beings were on the planet at the same time? That didn't happen. Well, but it's a good theory that, So we have to rein back all of the liberties that communications is taking, because when the information is incorrect and they know it's incorrect. Well, let me ask you this one. All the Fox News anchors are vaccinated.
Yeah.
All the executives at Fox are vaccinated. And you can't get into the Fox building unless you're vaccinated. Yet they turn around and they say, don't get vaccinated, it's a hoax from China. Why do they do that? So basically, they don't believe what they're saying. They're just looking for the opposite of whatever is truth, right? If you say, I'm for clean air, they will say you're against business. And if I'm for women, in the workforce, getting equal pay, and they're going, well, you're gonna put all these companies out of work. They can't do that. So, what I'm trying to get to is that Fox and their ilk are trying to create a conflict, because the conflict is good for ratings. They're the #1 station with 3 million people per night. MSN and CNN are 1.5 million, half the audience. So Rupert Murdoch is making out like a bandit.
Well, that's why he formed that company.
Well, he did that in Australia because he bought all the newspapers and he started doing yellow journalism, which is National Enquirer. Then he goes to London and he buys the English newspapers and he starts doing that. And now he's visiting here and he's trying to claim American citizenship. I'm going, dude, you're an American. You know, I mean, really, come on. I mean, you're the worst thing that happened to us because you have sullied our conversation and our discourse. And so I say to you the following. I don't believe America is divided. I think certain members of certain media are telling us that because they're trying to create that. But if that goes away and we go back to the NPR days where we get reasonable, rational news, then I think we can all realize that we're neighbors, our kids go to school together, we live here, we work here, we shop at the same stores, we go to the same churches, and we're all God's children. So it ain't their America, it's your America.
I wanted to ask about the Medicare.
Oh, good.
That came up.
Expert, huh?
Medicare needs to be changed a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
What specific, do you have any specifics?
yeah, dental care needs to be added in there. I know they're not going to do that, but they've been trying to get it in there for a long time.
Some of the programs that are available now through the Medicare Advantage plans are providing some dental care.
A little dental
Yes.
care.
They're also providing vision and also hearing aids.
Yeah.
So that's one of.
You have to pay for that though, right?
No, it's included. Sometimes you'll have a premium depending on the plan that you have. Sometimes you won't have a premium. Some even are touting that they'll give you back the premium because they'll take the premium directly from your Medicare benefit. That's not something that you go out of pocket unless you're of Medicare age and you're not claiming any money from Social Security. Then they will send you a bill for your Part A, Part B, Part B. Okay? So they do have, right now, the options of Medicare Advantage, like I said, and those plans are varied in the amount of benefits that they give you. They become more competitive now. Some will even go pick you up at home for your appointments and drive you to your appointments, okay? And so it just depends on what your medical needs are and the different types of options that they have for you. But they are including it that way. The thing that I see with Medicare Advantage is, however, that they're getting a lot of money. A lot of money.
Well, they
And
pay it
so-
out of your Social Security.
Well, I mean, the government gives these companies a set amount per month for your total medical care, okay? Sometimes, if you write down how much you actually spent on medical care, you'll find that it's not very much in a year, unless you have some type of chronic disease or some type of cancer, God forbid, or something like that. But the majority of the population will have their usual blood pressure issues, diabetic issues, arthritis issues, which are mostly controlled. The rest, however, is basically, money that they're getting extra, okay? So I think that needs to be kind of looked at and maybe tweaked a little bit to kind of cut back on cost. There's a misconception that physicians are going to the bank every day and dropping hundreds of dollars into it, okay? Being a physician, I've heard the end of that, okay? But the reality is that physicians are the only business people who have seen their income and rates cut over the past couple of years. And the reason that happens is because of the Medicare law. They've established that Medicare has to be budget neutral. So every year, they're putting in a 10% usually, budget cut. So that means that that percentage of Medicare gets taken away from the physician. And you say, well, you know, that's our government, et cetera. The problem with that is that most insurance companies, when they form a contract with a physician, take what Medicare pays as the basis of their payment. They won't say, okay, we're gonna give you this much. Usually the contract will state, we'll pay you 108, 109, 110% of what Medicare pays you. Okay? So what happens? People don't get a discount. The government will force the physician to take a cut on that Medicare, but then the private insurance has tacked on. So then the physician gets hit from all sides, okay? You can say, well, the doctor makes a lot of money. Yes, he does. But then if you owned a business, say a car shop or a bakery or whatever, and you were the only one in town, you'd be making a lot of money as well. Physicians make money on the number of patients they see. Whereas before, a physician might be able to break even, seeing maybe 15, 20 patients a day. Now he's got to go up to 30 patients a day to make ends meet. So what does that do for the patients?
Well, you see on your claim how it starts out. You start out with the doctor's charge, and then you get your little help along the way, you know, where they minus this and minus that, and then what you get at the end.
Right.
Is what the contract that you signed with
Exactly.
does.
And for a while there, back in the 90s, it was common knowledge that the insurance companies, every 3 claims that were submitted, 1 went out the window. They just plain threw it away. Why? Because they knew that unless you had key personnel working on that, that claim would probably be lost, and they'd make that money. They wouldn't have to pay it out.
Sir,
So,
doctor, can you speak to the pharmaceutical benefit, which was written by lobbyists under George Bush?
Yeah.
the pharmacy benefit is basically just an enticement, okay? And the enticement is basically a benefit for the pharmaceutical companies. What does that mean? It means that if I get you on a medication, and it sounds kind of harsh, but if I get you on a medication that you need or feel comfortable with, you're gonna pay whatever amount it is to stay on that medicine. We're gonna take a little bit off, we'll say a copay, but then the insurance companies work on copay adjustments out of pocket, or those things that they can increase their income. As a business owner, when I started my office, I paid about $800 in insurance for 2 employees, 1 with a child, and my family of 3 and my wife. At the end of 13 years, when I closed my office, I was getting less in insurance, and I was paying $2,300 a month after 13 years.
That's where it was.
So, and the insurance companies, what I noticed was, one time they would hit the patient, or they would hit the employee, the next year they would hit the employer. And they just kept going back and forth.
So if we had universal health care, we didn't have that problem.
Well, the issue with universal health care is that the American society is one of choice.
You can still have choice. You can
Well,
set up where you have
Well,
choice.
the issue with universal health care is that then that makes us all equal.
Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Well, to those of us who understand equality, yes. But to people who have money, how can I associate
They
with?
can have their
They
private
don't have
insurance.
to take.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
When
they
you,
still have
when
it.
you, when you talk about universal health, it should be an option. okay?
Yeah.
It
But
should be-
not-
The system should be in place. So we-
Right, exactly, but they're not selling it as that.
Well,
They're
it should-
selling it as
so
universal
that's what
health.
we need you to do when you go.
Exactly. They're selling it as it's the health insurance for everybody. Americans do not like to be told they don't have a choice. They want a choice.
Well, it doesn't matter what they think, we have to decide. No, because we waver too much as Democrats.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
We don't say what we need to do, we want to try to be their friends and try to,
Mhm.
no, you can't do that. You have to do what's right, and then people
Exactly.
will come out and vote.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
because we don't, we give up all those rights.
Right.
We give up women's rights, which pisses me off really bad.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
You know, I mean, why can't we just say what it is and stand by that and be proud of it?
To me, I mean, just to add to the conversation, the Affordable Health Care Act just needs to be what it was originally written
It's
as.
already better. Talk to people now. They're
Yes.
getting, I have an employee who gets, for her and her 2 kids, she pays $80 a month.
Yeah.
That's
That's what
great.
it's supposed to be.
That's
And the idea,
And her ex is a physician.
Yep. And the idea was for everybody to pay something.
Yes.
Right.
and
Before-
She's thrilled. She's
Yeah.
thrilled.
You know, my argument there was, before, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford
Well,
it.
they didn't know how to look for it.
They break their leg and they go to the emergency room and I gotta pay for it. Because they got no
One I was
coverage.
talking to, who was complaining about.
That's the other thing that, they kinda lightly touched upon it, was basically the fact that a lot of people, especially in Texas, because of the choice of Governor Abbott to not take the expansion of Medicaid, it has caused a snowball effect. Medicaid, while it does not compete or even come close to what Medicare pays, it is still something that is added to the revenue of physicians, pharmacists, nurses, hospitals, okay? Because of that decision by Governor Abbott to not take the expansion, now you have rural hospitals that are closing.
Closing.
Okay. And not only that, but the uninsured are generally the people who are at most risk to get sick.
Sure.
So hospitals, under current law, okay, cannot turn away anybody. So they have to take them in. While Medicare did not provide or does not provide a adequate reimbursement for the care, it is some reimbursement. Okay, so now you have a compound effect of them denying the expansion is one, you have uninsured patients who have gotten sick, who have ended up in the hospital, who have ended up with big medical bills that they cannot pay, and the government is not gonna pay it either. So,
Who
they
pays?
have to, no, the hospital shuts down, because they don't have the
They don't
income.
have any, but.
And rural communities are the ones that are suffering that. And what happens after the hospital closes? Bye-bye docs. Why? Because I'm not gonna put my license on the line to take care of this critical patient that has to travel 2 hours to get medical care. Why? Because medicine, is, I call it, it's like a hot potato. Whoever touches the patient last is the one who's gonna get responsible for the care. Okay? So if that patient gets in an ambulance and something happens from there to there, it's the last doc's baked potato.
And some of the counties do have indigent care that you can apply for.
Sure.
And then that's covered by, so much by the commissioner's court, the county, so
County.
much by the federal government.
County is supposed to provide indigent care.
Yeah. And some of them have hospital districts, but not all of them.
Right.
And so
And
that's
out in
another,
Calhoun County.
not
And
here?
our hospital is vastly having lots of problems.
They
Right.
have
Because of
indigent- they have
our
indigent
county
health care.
commissioners right now.
Yeah.
You can apply for indigent health care there at the hospital,
Yeah. The thing is that sometimes they're
the low income people.
yeah, but sometimes that income is so low that not very many people will qualify, okay? And they keep cutting it down, and cutting it down, and cutting it down, to where it's just now, oh, we have it, but nobody qualifies for it.
So we
So,
touched on healthcare, Medicare, and Veterans Aid. What else is important to you? Yes, sir.
Okay, Something that we haven't talked about at all, and I hold very dear to my heart,
It's her, right?
teachers.
Teacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Who
Okay.
was it that took away social security benefits from teachers?
Well, they're TEA, right?
I think it was Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Well, they went to the TRS, the Teachers Retirement System.
Teachers
Yeah.
retirement.
So they
system.
don't, they either pay into TRS or they pay into Social Security, depending on what your school district chooses.
And they used to be able to pay them both.
Yes,
right.
yes.
I don't know who stopped that.
Who took it away from us?
Well, let me just answer this. The schools, the public schools are property of the state of Texas.
Exactly.
Under the Constitution, it says you will provide a free and public education, okay? And for the last, I was a school public information officer for 6 years at San Antonio ISD. And I saw the chicanery that they're doing to the schools. You know why? Because they don't want public schools. They want to get the tax money, give it to their friend, and let them run a charter. And their friend gets rich on the charter.
Okay, that's what they're trying to do right now.
Yep.
My question is, why are the teachers not getting, quote, double dipped? Because everybody else can. You can have,
Rick
you can
Perry.
have 4 or 5 different
Yeah.
teacher, you can have 4 or 5 different retirement plans from 4 or 5 different companies that you work for. And you can have social security from them,
Mhm.
from those 4,
Yeah.
that you work there.
Yeah.
That's not double dipping.
Yeah.
I know people right now,
Mhm.
they weren't teachers, but they were close. They worked in the school district. And they're getting,
Double dipping?
they're getting social security as well as teacher retirement.
Oh, that's something wrong on that one.
No, it's not.
They had a job before.
Were they paying in this
Jobs
before?
before,
They had jobs.
they had jobs before, but they're also getting social security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason being, because they work in maintenance,
Right, that's what
they
you're
are
saying.
janitors,
Yeah.
they're people that work for the school district that are not
But you're paying them.
educators.
But their entire
If you don't pay
career
into
was
it,
not in
you
the
don't
school
get it.
district, so they
They're
had.
still working for the
Would
school
make sense.
district.
No,
If you don't
my
pay
dad
for
was in education his whole life. He didn't go to, as a college dean. And he gets social security and ERS because,
There,
not TRS, ERS.
well,
ERs.
Yes, through the state. Same thing with the legislators.
who took it away from us?
I don't know.
Was it taken away, or was it
Yes,
a choice?
yes, it
It
was
was
taken
It was
away.
not a choice by the teachers' union?
It was Rick Perry.
We
Mm.
really, their teachers' unions aren't really big in Texas, I'm
Well,
retired teachers.
Mhm.
And I have a very small social security record outside